Imagine tearing up the floorboards of your new home, expecting to find nothing but dust and cobwebs, only to uncover something that should have remained buried forever. It wasn't just gold. It was a secret that completely destroyed the lives of the people who hid it, and now it was about to change yours. What would you do if you realized you were standing on top of a dark, forgotten history? Let me take you on a journey into a house that held a terrifying secret for over 100 years. It started as a simple renovation project. An experienced contractor, let's call him Elias, had just purchased a massive decaying estate at a blind auction. The property sat on the outskirts of a small, isolated town, surrounded by overgrown woods that seemed to swallow the house whole. Nobody in the town liked to talk about this property. The locals would quickly change the subject whenever the house was mentioned, muttering vague warnings about how some doors are better left permanently closed. But Elias was a man of logic and profit. He saw a sturdy foundation, classic architecture, and a huge payday once the restoration was complete. He had no idea what he was walking into. Before Elias even opened the hidden box, the house was trying to warn him. On the 5th day of renovations, his usually fearless guard dog, a massive hound named Max, refused to step past the front porch. Max would sit at the edge of the driveway, staring up at the second-floor window of the master bedroom, whining a low, distressed sound. Animals have a sense for things we cannot perceive. When Elias tried to pull Max inside by the collar, the dog snapped at him, something he had never done in 5 years. That should have been the first red flag. The second red flag was the electrical wiring. Elias brought in a massive generator to power his heavy tools and floodlights, but every time he ran a cable into that specific hallway, the heavy-duty bulbs would flicker, surge, and shatter. Not just burn out, but violently explode, raining glass down on the dusty floor. He went through 3 boxes of bulbs before he resorted to battery-powered lanterns. The darkness in that house wasn't just an absence of light. It felt heavy, oppressive, almost thick enough to choke on. Then came the whispers. Elias was a rational man. He blamed it on the wind whistling through the cracked window panes, or the old timber settling as the temperature dropped. But late in the evening, when the wind was dead calm and the tools were turned off, he would hear it. A soft, rhythmic scratching, accompanied by a sound that mimicked human breathing. It was always coming from beneath his feet. By the 12th day, Elias decided the warped floorboards in the master bedroom had to be replaced. As he knelt down with his crowbar, he noticed something strange. The nails holding these specific boards down weren't standard construction nails. They were thick, hand-forged iron spikes, driven deep into the joists with an incredible amount of force. It was as if whoever nailed this floor down was terrified of something getting out. Elias wedged his crowbar under the first plank and pushed with all his weight. The wood groaned, a harsh, screaming sound that echoed through the empty house. The spike finally gave way with a sharp crack. As Elias pulled the heavy oak board aside, he shined his flashlight into the dark void between the floor and the ceiling of the room below. The beam of light caught the edge of something solid. It was a heavy, iron-bound wooden chest, covered in a thick layer of undisturbed gray dust. Elias felt his heart hammer against his ribs. This was the ultimate contractor's dream, finding hidden treasure. But as he reached down to pull the chest out, a sudden, inexplicable feeling of dread washed over him. The chest was entirely covered in strange, deep scratches, as if something had tried to claw its way out. It took nearly an hour to carefully pry the rusted iron lock open. When the lid creaked back, what he saw made him stop breathing. Inside, resting on a bed of decaying velvet, were hundreds of heavy, gleaming gold coins. They weren't modern currency. The gold was incredibly pure, casting an eerie, warm glow in the freezing room. But the faces stamped on the coins were wrong. There were no kings, no familiar historical figures. Instead, each coin bore the image of a strangely twisted tree on one side and a symbol that looked like a closed eye on the other. Elias, shaking with adrenaline, began scooping the heavy coins into a canvas bag. The sheer weight of the gold meant he was sitting on a fortune worth millions. But as his fingers scraped the bottom of the wooden chest, he realized the velvet lining wasn't flat. There was a hollow sound when he tapped it, a false bottom. Now, think about this for a second. Most people would pack up the gold, run out the door, and never look back. But human curiosity is a dangerous thing. Elias used a small screwdriver to pry up the false wooden bottom. Beneath it lay a single, crumbling leather journal, bound shut with a thin strap. The pages were yellowed and filled with frantic, jagged handwriting. The journal belonged to the original owner of the house, a wealthy merchant who had suddenly isolated himself from the world over a century ago. The entries detailed a terrible bargain. The merchant hadn't earned this gold. It was given to him. The journal spoke of a night when a stranger arrived at the door during a violent storm. The stranger carried the heavy chest and offered a deal. Keep the chest hidden, never spend a single coin, and in return, his family would be blessed with unstoppable prosperity. But there was one strict condition. The chest must remain beneath the floorboards, and the room must never be occupied. If the gold was moved, the bargain would be broken, and whatever was trapped inside the metal of the coins would be released. The merchant agreed, driven by greed. But the journal entries grew progressively darker. The merchant wrote of hearing whispers coming from beneath the floor. He wrote of his children falling mysteriously ill, their skin turning as cold as the floorboards above the chest. He realized too late that the gold wasn't a gift. It was an anchor, a heavy, cursed weight designed to trap a malevolent energy. The merchant had tried to spend one single coin in town to buy medicine. The very next morning, the apothecary who accepted the coin was found dead, his shop burned to the ground with an unnatural blue flame. The merchant realized the gold destroyed anyone who didn't understand its true nature. That is why he secured the floorboards with cold iron, a metal used in ancient folklore to bind dark spirits. He wasn't trying to keep thieves out. He was trying to keep the gold in. The final entry was abruptly cut off, consisting of only one chilling sentence. The eyes on the coins have opened, and I can hear them coming up the stairs. Elias dropped the journal. His hands were trembling violently. He looked down at the canvas bag filled with the gold coins. Were they glowing brighter than before? He suddenly realized the absolute silence of the house had been replaced by a subtle, rhythmic sound, a low, vibrating hum that seemed to be coming directly from the canvas bag. Panic, raw and primal, seized him. He didn't care about the millions. He left the bag of gold on the floor, sprinted down the narrow hallway, and tore out of the driveway in his truck. He never went back. He tried to contact authorities anonymously, but when the police finally investigated the property days later, they found nothing. The floorboards were pulled up, the rusted iron chest was sitting empty, and the canvas bag was gone. The gold had vanished, but the most terrifying part was in the official police report. Nailed to the wall, right above the open hole in the floor, was a single heavy gold coin bearing the image of a wide-open eye. The house still stands empty today. No one has bought it. But the ultimate question remains, lingering like a dark cloud. Who took the canvas bag? Are they spending that cursed gold right now, spreading that dark, ancient bargain out into the world, coin by coin? And, most importantly, if you were in his shoes, staring at a fortune in untraceable gold, would you have been strong enough to leave it behind? Some treasures are hidden for a reason. You never know what is waiting just an inch below the surface, hoping for someone greedy enough to let it out.